there everyone, it's Jennifer McGuire and today I'm a guest here on the Lawn Fawn blog. I'm really excited to use some of Lawn Fawn's newest stamps and dies, and today I wanted to show you how to create this watercolor look using distress inks. Distress inks don't have to be for a distress look, you can use them for bright colors like this one. So I'm using this new die set from Lawn Fawn. I love these because they have these little stitched lines in it, so it actually die cuts those also, which really makes for a great look when you're inking them. So I am going to run this through my Big Shot, and this is actually Tim Holtz Distress watercolor paper, but any kind of watercolor paper will do, but I love this watercolor paper. I think it's wonderful. So I'm going to cut a bunch of clouds and one sun. And you can see that kind of dashed edge that looks like stitching. I love that touch on die cuts. So now I wanted to make these have like a watercolor sky look. So I'm taking my distress inks. This is Salty Ocean, which is a great blue color, and I'm just smushing it on my craft sheet. If you don't have a craft sheet, an acrylic block would work, or like a plastic plate. And I'm going to spritz it with water, and then I'm just going to smoosh around my little die cut, smoosh is the word of the day apparently, into the color. And look, you can pick it up and kind of move it around. You can touch it with your fingers, you can use a brush. I'm kind of tipping it to make sure that the color gets into those little stitched lines so that the color kind of builds up there and enhances them. And then I just gave it a quick mist with water just to kind of add some water to it so that when it dries it has a really clear watercolor look. So I did the same here, and you can see the color kind of building up in those little stitch lines, which will make them darker, and I love that. I love that about these dies. So after creating a few of the clouds, I realized that it was not as vibrant as I wanted it to be because I was adding so much water to it. So I'm just going to clear it off and make a new palette here. If you don't have distress inks, you could use watercolor markers and scribble it on your surface and do the same technique. But I just love distress inks. So now I decided I wanted to have a little variation in color. So if you notice here in this picture, there's like some teal in the clouds. It's hard to see. So what I did is I grabbed another color of distress ink. This time it's peacock feathers, which is one of my favorite colors. And I'm using a brush and I'm just kind of pouncing random blobs of watercolor on here. And then I'll let it dry. The thing with distress inks when you're doing a background like this is that it's going to look bad before it looks good. So once it dries, it'll be beautiful, but it might not look so good when it's wet. But just give it time, it'll dry wonderfully, and if you're impatient like me, you could always zap it with a heat gun. So now I wanted to show you how I did that sun. This sun is just super quick and easy. I grabbed some walnut honey distress ink. This is a great kind of orangey yellow color. Give it a quick mist, dip my little die cut into it, and watch when I pick it up, it's going to have like these puddles of water on it, puddles of color, and I love that. The more puddles and uneven look you get like that, the better it will dry because it kind of creates areas of watercolor. I love that look because I love the look of watercolor, but I'm not good at watercoloring on my own, so this is a great way to get the look without too much effort. So now I wanted to create that background piece. Now this background piece, I actually used one of the big new dies from Lawn Fawn. I love this die. It cuts like a 4x6, so it's good for pocket journaling, like Project Life stuff. But I also like that it just has that great stitched edge. So I'm running through another piece of watercolor paper, and I'm just cutting out an area from the center. For a note card, I'm using this cute 4-barred note card from Lawn Fawn. I love the polka dot, and I'm actually going to use it inside out. So I'll show you what I'm going to do on the inside in a moment. But here I'm just going to have this piece kind of stretch across the card. So I'll show you that, but first we got to create that watercolor background. So I'm taking some broken china ink and pressing it onto my craft sheet, adding lots of water. I want more water this time so that it's a softer look. Before I wanted them to be vibrant, I want this to be super soft, so I'm adding tons of water, smushing my paper around in here. You can see there's no science to this at all. Once I pick it up, I'm just going to kind of smear it around on the paper. Remember, the worse it looks, the better it's going to be when it dries. So I'm just going to take this and set it down and give it one last mist so that or a few mists so that it kind of blends together, and then I let that dry. So here I've let it dry. I'm using a super strong adhesive here because there's a little warping on this paper. This is a Tombow Extreme adhesive. I like this because it's super strong. However, wherever you put it, you're kind of stuck there. So you can't need to move it. So make sure you get it right the first time. So I'm going to put this right across my card, being very careful, smush it down, and then cut off all those pieces that hang off the edges. And I love that little stitched edge that die gives along the side of this piece. Now this note card is smaller than what people usually make. It's 3.5 by 4 7/8. That's called a 4-bar note card size. And I'm really happy that Lawn Fawn has these printed note cards in envelopes because I think the small size is really fun. So I've kind of played around with the positioning of all my little die cuts on the card, and I have planned down there where my stamped image will go. So I'm just going to add these all with some foam adhesive, and then later I'll go back and squirt some glossy accents under all the die cuts just to make sure that they stay nice and put. Sometimes this foam adhesive doesn't really want to stick with all the inking that we've done. I originally was going to just use 3 clouds, but I really like the watercolor look of these die cuts, so I decided to stick a few more on here. And I'm allowing some of them to hang off the side of the card, and I'll just trim it off. And by the way, I think the back of the die cuts look fun too, because you get just a little bit of that watercolor on the back. Okay, so now for the sun, I decided I wanted to add a smiley face. So I'm going to grab this other stamp set from Lawn Fawn. It's the sushi stamp set, but I thought the little faces would be fun to add to pretty much any kind of cute little die cuts like the sun. So I'm just going to stamp this with some black ink, kind of off center here, trying to find the best place for it. But I love those little faces, and I thought I could use them on all kinds of die cuts, not just the sushi set. Now this Hello Sunshine greeting, I just love this text, or this handwriting. I love it, and it looks perfect on this card. So I just stamped with black ink along the bottom. I felt like the card needed a pop of something, so I decided to add some red hearts, and I'm going to create them the same way that I did the watercolor pieces we already did. So I have a piece of watercolor paper. I'm taking Festive Berries Distress Ink. I love that color. Add some mist to it, just kind of smear my paper in it. It looks terrible, which means it's going to end up looking great, no problem. So I'm just going to let that dry or zap it with a heat gun. And then I'm going to take these cute little hearts from Lawn Fawn, run it through my die cut machine, and I have perfect little watercolor hearts. I put little dots of glossy accents, and now I'm using my quick sticks to pick up the hearts very quickly. Then I can use the other end to kind of position them where I want them. And I even had an extra to put on the inside of my card. So this is what I've done to the inside of the card. I cut a piece of white cardstock and I put it in there along with an extra cloud and a little heart. Now I decided I wanted some shimmer to this. I don't know why. I didn't I didn't feel like I could stop just yet. So I'm masking off the top and the bottom with some sticky tape. And I have this shimmer spray. I love this sparkle shimmer spray. And I'm going to give it maybe 5-6 mists from above. Now that our distress inks are dry, once they're dry, you don't have to worry about adding water to them and messing them up. It'll stay nice and set. So this won't mess up the watercoloring that we've done. So I just heat set that so it dry quickly, and it's so hard to see in the video or in the photos, but there's a great shimmer over the whole front of the card. It's just beautiful, and it's a great way to kind of take that distress ink watercolor look and add a little fun to it. And in this close-up picture, you can see how the color kind of soaked into those stitched edges, kind of enhancing them. I love that look. So there we have it, you creating a faux watercolor look on your die cuts using distress inks. If you have any questions, please head over to the Lawn Fawn blog, and thanks so much for stopping by.